if you can tell us your views about the supposed objective of Operation Sindoor.
A dastardly act took place. What was peculiar was they selected people of a particular religion, Hindu religion, and identified them by their religion and shot them in front of their families. Every terrorist act as an act of war. There was always a feeling that there are safe havens available for the terrorists within the country, within our neighboring country. So there would be no safe havens. That means, regardless of where they are located, they would be neutralized.
On the 7th, Pakistan claimed we drowned 5 jets. And they were like, 1 down, 2 down, 3 down, like completely like a Joker kind of manner.
When you are a champion of deceit and denials, then in this claims and counterclaims argument, the victim is always the truth. In 2014, we had a total defense export of 787 crores. INR. Today, it is crossed 23,000 crore.
So when it comes to respect, it's the Indian Defence Forces which are supposed to be the most respected public institute in India. So today I am very glad and honored to have Commodore Mukesh Bhargava as a guest in our podcast. Commodore Bhargava is not only a veteran of Defence Forces, but he is also a veteran of defence industry in India. He is ex-board member of L&T Defence, which is the leading defence player in India, in addition to being a freelance consultant to many major world defence players. And before joining the defense industry, he has spent 31 years in Indian Navy, where he commissioned the first nuclear submarine of Indian Navy and also was chief designer of first Indian submarine of nuclear powered project. So welcome Commodore Bhargava, welcome to our podcast today.
Thank you, Ankit. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Great, sir. So, sir, in addition to the most obvious topic of Operation Sindoor, we will also be discussing about Indian defense industry with you.
Definitely.
Great. So, Commodore Bhargava, to start with, if you can tell us your views about the supposed objective of Operation Sindoor, and also how did we score on the primary objective of the operation?
Well, Ankit, as you know, on the afternoon of the 22nd April, in the salubrious climate of Pahalgam in Kashmir, while Indian tourists were enjoying the scenic beauty of that place, a dastardly act took place when 5 or 6 terrorists came and indiscriminately opened fire. What was peculiar was they selected people of a particular religion, Hindu religion, and identified them by their religion and shot them in front of their families. This is, I think, one of the most dastardly act or horrific act that has happened in the recent memory. And it really the whole nation was enraged with this and was baying for a punitive action to be taken by the government. Immediately after this 22nd April, Indian government started taking some non-military actions on the 23rd itself. First, they suspended the Indus Water Treaty, which would affect the flow of Indus water into Kashmir. Second, they also withdrew our diplomatic people from there and closed the Atari border. In parallel, the diplomatic corps of the country, they started working towards isolating Pakistan and also working towards bringing them again in the grey list of FATF. So these were the actions that were going on parallelly. But what was not known and what the public was really getting very concerned was for almost nearly 2 weeks, there was no action taken. But this time was necessary to prepare for the action that we today know as Op Sindoor, which happened on the night of the 6th and 7th. The objective was, as you are aware, that this is not the first time that a terrorist attack of this kind has happened. Of course, this was the most fierce in terms of identifying a particular Hindu religion and killing the male members in front of the family. But incidences of terrorist attacks have been happening in Uri, in Pulwama, in the past also in 2016 and then 2019. But 2025 Pahalgam stands out as one of the most dastardly act, and the response for that has to be taken so that such kind of an act do not get repeated. So the objective, one of the main objective was to neutralize and completely annihilate the infrastructure, the leadership, and also the financial support that these terrorist organizations were getting, which was resulting into them perpetuating these kind of acts. One other objective which was also there, which I mentioned, that this kind of an act should not get repeated in the future. For that, what came out was the new defense doctrine against the terror attack. And there are some 6-7 points that were put up in that. One of the first one was that it would be called as retaliatory decisiveness. That means India would consider every terrorist act as an act of war. Now, there's a difference between terrorist and war, and it is delineated in the BNS Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita by Article 147, which is about war, and 113, which is about terrorist act. The punishment for Article 113 is life imprisonment. But 147, which is the act of war, it is death. So this was that it means if you do any terrorist act, death would be the result of that. So that was one major decision paradigm that was taken. Second was that the response would be precedent-shattering response. That means a response which has never happened in the past, it would be that severe. So it's like punitive action.
So increasing the benchmarks every
increasing
time.
Or raising the level of the retaliation that would be done. There was always a feeling that there are safe havens available for the terrorists within the country, within our neighboring country. So there would be no safe havens. That means regardless of where they are located, they would be neutralized. So, and there was also a thing about state and non-state actors. So as if there is a terrorist act, it does not matter whether it is state or non-state, it would be treated as an act of war. So that means non-state actors would also be treated as a war on India. So and it would be dealt accordingly.
So if somebody is staging terror attacks on India from country ABC, then we won't think whether government of ABC country is involved or not. We will attack country ABC.
Whether it is supported by the government or not supported by the government. Even if it is supported by the government, it would be attacked. But even if it is not supported, non-state actor, they would still be given that punitive punishment.
So we won't give any benefit of doubt that we had been giving until now.
Which was happening in the past, that it's a non-state actor, I have got nothing to do, they are not part of Pakistani army. All that thing would not hold water anymore in this new paradigm. Then there was always a nuclear blackmail that was going on. That if you do this, we have a nuclear bomb and we'll use that bomb. So that nuclear blackmail would be, there would be no tolerance of nuclear blackmail. And this was stated in this doctrine. And there was what Prime Minister has been saying, that Synindhur is not over. So there would be a preparedness for the Indian Armed Forces to be permanently in a deterrent mode. And last was the geopolitical signaling. That means the diplomatic ties would be cut off. So, you know, on 23rd itself, we withdrew our diplomatic corps. And since then, there have been number of actions which have been taken, even sports. We are not wanting to participate in any sports activity. So that would be another one. And a new global standard was created. In fact, if you see the terrorist acts happening everywhere in the world, but nowhere a victim government, has taken the kind of action that India took for Synindhur.
In the
Punitive and annihilating the entire infrastructure. So this sets up a new benchmark for retaliation against a terrorist attack and a model that could be replicated by other countries as well. So India has set up that kind of a benchmark.
So, Commodore Bhargav, after 1971, when Pakistan realized that they don't have much to counter India on conventional warfare, they indulged into unconventional warfare. First, it was Punjab insurgency, then Kashmir, then various other what they call cutting by the thousand cuts. And looking from a defense expert side, many defense experts said that it's a low-cost warfare for Pakistan, in the sense they get some unemployed youth, they brainwash them, they train them, and then they send them to India. They are not even losing any army men. Now from there, right now the situation is that if you do any terror attack on India, as you rightly said, we won't distinguish between state and non-state actors. There will be a cost for Pakistani army directly as well. So do you think it can work as a good deterrent for Pakistani army in future? At least they will have a different cost benefit analysis moving forward for any attack that they have against India?
Yeah, definitely. Now, with this new paradigm, it is sent a very, very clear message to the Pakistan government, military establishment, as well as the terrorist organization. That number one, they will not distinguish between state and non-state actors. And it is not just the terrorists. The supporters of the terrorists, the financiers, and those who are giving them shelters and sanctuaries. So no sanctuaries would be tolerated. That means if we come to know there's a terrorist attack which has happened, and it is leading to a particular place, whether it is in Rawalpindi or Lahore, the Indian army will go and Indian armed forces will go and attack that. No excuses, no concessions, and pure action. That is what the message has been given. And I think this message has been, I don't know whether it's been accepted or internalized by the Pakistan army, but I think the people in the think tank are well aware about their implications, and that is the reason that Synindhur is still continuing. It's not over. It was not the 4-day, it's still continuing. The Navy is deployed, the Army is deployed, the Air Force is all with their weapon load ready. So if any mischief happens, it would be punitive reply that would be given. But at the same time, I would also like to mention that this was a very calibrated, calculated, measured, and proportional, non-escalatory. So if you notice that on the 24 minutes or 25 minutes
of 9th May, 7th May,
the objective was achieved. And there was nothing that was going to happen beyond the 7th midnight of 1:40. 1:05 it started and 1:35 it was over. After that, there was nothing planned. Had Pakistan just kept quiet, nothing would have happened. Because the objective was to destroy the infrastructure and the people. Everyone could not be destroyed because probably they got a wind of it and some of them were moved out from there. But the infrastructure which was destroyed, it will take them months, if not years, to rebuild that. And if that happens, then still the doctrine stands with all these 7 points.
But do you think more than tangible communication, it's about intangible damage also? In the sense that we are giving a message that, even if you are in Mudrik, you are running a supposed seminary, you are running a supposed mosque, you can still be attacked.
Absolutely. So that's why regardless of your location or regardless of the kind of infrastructure that you have, if it is led to, if any terrorist act is led to that establishment would be destroyed.
In fact, I just remembered during Pakistani army briefing, they mentioned that one of the missiles was about to land in Afghanistan also. So they mentioned that one of the missiles was almost hitting Afghanistan. They claimed so. So in a sense, we also gave a lesson that we can, dominate all of Pakistan's sky, and then no place in Pakistan, maybe it's because a very sandwiched nation with very less width, etc., is safe from Indian. army hardware.
Ankit, the major difference between 2016, 2019, the Uri and Balakot, the 25 is distinct from these two because in this period of 6-7 years, the capability of the Indian industry and the armament manufacturing ecosystem has reached a level where you don't even have to cross the LOC to hit the farthest point of Pakistan.
Okay.
The standoff range of the missiles are more than 300 kilometers now. And the future one, the Akash next generation and the BrahMos next generation are going to be 700 and onwards kilometers. So with that kind of a range, you don't even have to enter Pakistan airspace to attack them. So
you need not.
You need not. So the briefing talking about something reached Afghanistan, very much possible. In fact, out of the 9 targets which were there, 4 of them were inside Punjab, Pakistan,
Yes.
Punjab.
Yes. Mudrik.
Murid Ke and Bahawalpur.
Bahawalpur.
So these were the regions which were considered, as I mentioned, safe havens. That here, India will never come because this is in the heart of Pakistan. But hitting them over there is giving a very clear message. No place in the territory of Pakistan is beyond the reach of Indian armed forces. And the destruction of these 2 places also gives a message that whatever air defense capability that you have cannot deter India to achieve a successful hit. So this is another, level of capability that has been demonstrated to the world. And I think the global powers are actually standing up and taking note of what has happened, especially what happened on the
Hardware
9th,
side.
9th and the 10th morning. Because that has given an absolute shock. Even what America did on the 12th of June with Iran, all the 3 places that they hit, they have not been able to achieve the kind of accuracy that we achieved on the 9-10 night. I mean, there are details of that which I can talk about if you are interested. The CEP, the circular error probability of the missile system that India used, BrahMos, was of the order of 1 meter or maybe 1 feet. As a result, firing a missile from 600 kilometers distance, you hit the ventilation shaft of the Sargodha and Noor Khan Air Base. And all these underground facilities, they are all spread much deeper, 30, 40 meters deep. So India does not have what B-2 bombers have, those bunker penetrating bombs. We have some, but not to that capability. But instead of using that, if you put a missile in the ventilation trunk, and for underground facility, as anyone would understand, the ventilation shaft goes to every place where a human being is. And if you put a missile over there, it goes to every single nook and corner and does the destruction, not only of the humans, but also of the electronics which is there. But to be able to achieve that from a distance of standoff distance of 600 kilometers, people are saying this is something which has never happened. People are talking about it, but there is no demonstrated battle-proven capability. Real world capability. This is the first time it has happened, and that is, I think, when we talk about the industry, we can discuss that. How is India able to achieve that, and why we are now, when we talk about Atmanirbharta and when we talk about Make in India, we may not be there, but we are very close. And there are some gaps that would be filled in the due course of time, but we have achieved something which in the past we have never done, but globally also it has never been done. America has been wanting, and Israel has been wanting to knock off the nuclear establishment of Iran for so many years. And they finally have to seek their friends America's help to do that. And with that also, what news is coming out is not totally done. But here, without even having an intent to do that,
we could send a message.
We could send a message that beware. Next step would be the complete destruction of the nuclear command post.
So, Commodore, you mentioned about 2016, 19 and now 25. Now, 2016 was raising the benchmark in the sense that allegedly Indian Army has been doing such kind of operations earlier also, but probably this was the first time that Indian government accepted it and even published about it. 2019 was again raising the benchmark in the sense that Indian Air Force went inside the Pakistani airspace. Now, one positive side of 2025 was that nobody asked for evidence this time. So last time Pakistan could claim that there was no damage. They were making memes like only one of our trees was damaged, otherwise there was no damage. And they took international media to the location, I think 2 or 3 weeks later. And obviously by that time they would have...
everything was cleared up.
Yes, everything was cleared up, repaired and painted fresh and everything. But this time even Masood Azhar came out saying that 10 of my family members died. So there was nobody asking whether inside India or outside India, nobody was asking for evidence of hit or damage to Pakistan. But if you look at, any war will have claims and counterclaims. So Indian claims are that we hit terrorist infra on 7th May, and then once they started retaliating back by hitting our army infra, army bases or air force bases, we counter-targeted their air defense bases. Some 12 of them, including, Sargodha and Noor Khan base, which are like, correct me if I'm wrong, Noor Khan air base is like 10 km from PM residence and 10 km from their army headquarters.
Yes.
And counterclaim from them was, their army spokesperson read out some list of 27 bases which they allegedly hit, including the one in Punjab where Modi went 2 days later on, and they, purportedly showed S-400 also, because Pakistan claimed that we destroyed S-400 also. I think Adampur Air Base. That we destroyed S-400 at Adampur Air Base, and then Modi landed there 1 or 2 days later on, showing that everything is intact over there. So how do you look at this? Whereas for Indian side, there are photos available presented by neutral international satellite players also, defense experts also, where they are showing that yes, there has been damage on Pakistani side, but there are no photos for any damage on Indian sides. In fact, funnily, their defense minister said that evidence is there, all there on the social media. So do you think for anybody on neutral side, listening to both briefings, listening to all the evidences present, the proportion of damage was much more on the Pakistani side than it had been in the past? So does that mean that our preparedness, our hardware quality, our level of the hardware that we use, the level of planning that we use, its height from the Pakistani side has increased in recent years?
Well, one need to look at how these operations went off and why the damage is more on the Pakistani side this time than in the past. Firstly, both 16 and 19, the Uri and Balakot, both of them were a single target. Yes. Because the Indian government has identified the unit that was involved in blowing up. Both cases. In the case of 19, we sent an aircraft to destroy it. In 16, it was the army unit that has gone to kill the people who were responsible for that. In 2025, we said enough is enough. We are not going to go for identify where these 6 gentlemen came, 6 terrorists came from Pahalgam. We are not going to do that. We are going to destroy the entire infrastructure. That if you kill the seed, then you kill the whole plant also. So you hit at the root. And that's why Muridke and Bawalpur, the Lashkar-e-Toiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed headquarters were destroyed. Secondly, if you look at it with regard to the destruction that happened, as far as India is concerned, there were 4 places. Adampur was one, and I think Pathankot, and I have the names, 2 more places, where there were some minor damages, like window panes.
Also, I think.
Yeah. So 4 places, India has accepted that there were some minor damages to the buildings. But there were no lives lost, and there were no major damage to any defense units. Even in these bases, it was not the main military infrastructure that was destroyed. It was the civil works that were destroyed. When you look at it from the Pakistan point of view, why damage was high and why the Indian attacks were so successful, comparing it from the previous ones. The difference that happened this time was, number one must understand from 22nd April to 6th May, what was Indian government doing?
Planning.
So, if you recollect, in 1971, Prime Minister Gandhi has called General Manik Shaw and asked him in the month of April to go and enter Bangladesh. And he said, I will not do it, you give me 6 months. For any mission objective, and in any military campaigns, the first thing is objective. An objective has to be defined, it has to be singular, it has to be positive, and it has to be achievable within the resources. When you say within the resources, with the planning, of course. So it has to be singular. That means you can't have objective. A lot of people have been saying, why didn't we go ahead and took over POK also?
Decimated Pakistan.
Yeah, what was the objective? When we started on the 6th and 7th, objective was to decimate the terrorist infrastructure. You can't add and take over POK. Then your entire mission will fail. So you have to have singular objective. It has to be positive. That means I will definitely destroy it.
So that makes me think कि if you start saying in 1971, our objective should have been to take over Bangladesh,
No,
or
to-
let's say
to
East
liberate,
Pakistan.
liberate.
No, I am saying if.
Yes.
If you define your objective as, taking over
Take over
Bangladesh,
Bangladesh, yes.
or East Pakistan, then we lost the war.
We should have. We would have lost the war, because then for that you have to do the planning. If you are going to take over, then have you got a government ready? Have you got
Yes,
the admin
yes,
infrastructure
yes,
ready?
yes.
Have you done? So those work will take years, and it could not have been done even by General Manik Shaw in those 6 months. So here the objective was what was achieved in 23 minutes. So what you define as an objective for a military mission
Defines the success.
that defines the success of the mission also. But the moment you start adding and, you're doomed to disaster. Secondly, when I'm talking about why the planning was so good, this was the first time, Ankit, where all the three services worked in a cohesive, coordinated, and seamless integrated manner. And it is not just the three services. I think something which has not come out much in the media is how how ISRO was involved in the success of this mission. I have come through some of my internal group discussions and also from ISRO's side. 27 satellites from the Indian constellation were handed over to the Ministry of Defence for these 4 days. And we have a system, we all use Google Maps, but there's a system called Navik.
Indian navigation system.
Indian navigation system. Navik is going to be, in the next couple of years, more accurate for India than even Google Maps. So Navik, ISRO satellites were used for giving real-time coordinates and even movement of the key personnel in a real-time manner to the ops center.
Defense forces.
Of the ops center of the Operation Synindhur. It is because of this that you could get the CEP of 1 meter in Sargodha and in Noor Khan. To get that, you have to have... Now, when Kargil happened, we did not have that constellation of satellite. Even in 1619, we did not have it to that extent, what we have it today. And as you know, India, in ISRO, we are become, like PSLV has become the most successful launch platform. And global leaders are coming and asking us for launch. We asked in satellite data from the US during the Kargil war, and it was denied to us.
Yes.
So that led to India ramping up its satellite constellation so that you become self-reliant in that. And that came as a big support and to the accuracy of the mission that happened in Operation Synindhur. That you could take out, if you see the picture of that Bawalpur, there are 4 holes on the dome of that mosque which was there where this Jaish-e-Mohammed was headquartered. So to be able to hit one building with 4 missiles with that accuracy, that 4 of them are at 4 corners and destroying the complete thing would not have been possible without this kind of an accuracy data. And that is what is making the world leaders think that is India a follower or is it a leader now? Because some of the things that we have achieved are beyond expectation of most. Second thing what we did was, there's a system called IACCS, which is Integrated Air Command Control System. And there's a system that has been developed by Bharat Electronics called Akash Tir. So these two are graded air defense systems which can pick up a target. And that's why, there were hundreds of drones and some of the missiles, Fateh 1 and Fateh 2, which I think on the 8th and 9th they have launched it, which are SRBMs, short-range ballistic missiles. So from 6th, 7th to 7th, 8th, and 8th onwards, they were all drones. 6th, 7th night, 8th morning, and on the 9th, there were only drones and drones attack which were happening. On the 8th night and 9th morning, they started firing ballistic missiles. And that is the time that India said, we need to retaliate. And as you mentioned, 11 out of the 13 air base was destroyed. And we then started hitting the military establishment. This IACCS and Akash Tir were used for countering every single drone that came from there. Almost 99%, I will not say 100%, 99% of them were taken away. That shows the veracity and the efficiency and the accuracy of Indian developed air defense system. There was an HQ-7 and HQ-9, which is a Chinese supplied air defense system, which was there with Pakistan, which on the 6th, 7th night itself could not pick up the BrahMos missile and could not pick up the scalp, which was fired from the Mirage 2000 and from Rafale, because they were low flying, below its range, and also the drones which were there, some of the drones. Now, when we mention about this counter claims and claims, the 5 aircraft shot down without any pilot being caught and without any pilot dying. The chief of the defense staff has said not a single casualty of the pilots. So maybe there are some, I'm not denying it, that on the 7th early morning, on the 6th night and 7th morning, there have been maybe some casualties on our side may have been there.
Which is part of the process.
Which is, you see, when you play a chess game,
yes,
and I beat you, do you count how many pawns of mine you took before before losing?
Correct.
You don't. Because that's not relevant. What is relevant is your objective and how you achieved it. So this graded response that we have been able to develop, the IACCS and the Akash Tir, it can pick up at 600 kilometers and then decide which weapon, whether we use BrahMos, whether we use Akash, whether we use L-70 guns or Zu-23 guns, which are all indigenously upgraded now, and use the optimum cost-effective method for destroying that particular weapon. This graded response was able to neutralize almost 99% of all the drones and guided munitions that were used by Pakistan. The Fateh 1 and 2, which were launched on the 8th and 9th May, these two missiles, one unexploded missile was found in near Sirsa. So that also talks
almost
about...
intact.
Yeah, almost intact. So that talks about, and our missiles went and hit within an accuracy of 1 meter. So when you compare the two, you can see the difference. And I'm not saying that, Pakistan, Chinese systems were duff, but the smart maneuvers that Indian, defense establishment did for using their missiles and the drones and precision guiding munitions, it was making the Chinese air defense system completely useless.
So, Commodore Bhargava, I'm very tempted to shift discussion about procurement in defense industry. But before that, I have just one interjection to make and to have your views about the same. On the 7th, Pakistan claimed we drowned 5 jets, and they were like 1 down, 2 down, 3 down, like completely like a Joker kind of manner. And on 9th, they didn't make even a single claim of any aircraft going down. So first, certainly it shows the contradiction कि when Indian Air Force was targeting your terrorist camps, you were able to down 5 of them. And that too when it was very surprised move. And when on the 9th, everybody in the world knows that we are fighting, and now we are hitting your defense establishments, your defense, air forces, your air force stations, etc. You didn't even claim to have downed even one aircraft. So first, certainly the contradiction. The second, do you think after 9th they were so much awestruck that they were even lost for the words? Was that the reason?
I think part of both, Ankit. Firstly, on the 7th, the claims, like I was mentioning, that during these, when you are a champion of deceit and denials, then in this claims and counterclaims argument, the victim is always the truth. And that is a casualty. So on the 7th, when we say, when Pakistan says they shot down 5 Rafales, then our inventory should be down by 5, and 5 of the pilots should be there in Pakistan territory. They could not show that. They could not even show the debris of even one.
So their defense minister said, go and see on the social media.
Social media. So that shows that, how hollow their claim was. Second, on the when we talk about why they could not shoot on the 7th, but why they claim that they shot on the 7th and not on the 9th. Difference between 7th and 9th is that on the 7th, when they claim that they have shot Rafales, there were 2 munitions that India was using. One is called the anti-radiation drone. This drone's job is to neutralize the radar. How will they shoot your aircraft down? First, their radar has to pick up. That radar has to transfer the target to the weapon, and the weapon has to shoot it down. This is a sequence. So if you send an anti-radiation drone first thing, it will neutralize their radars. And if you have the other drones which go and hit missiles, BrahMos missiles and Akash missiles, if they go and hit the radars, so radars were the first thing that gets taken out. So there's a term that we use in the army parlance which is called SEAD and DEAD. That is suppression of enemy air defense and destruction of enemy air defense. So this is the first activity that you do, which was being done on the 6th, 7th night. As a result, once you've taken out the air defense radars and the air defense systems, either by smartly going under those radar signatures, by flying low, or by actually bombing and destroying them, there would not be any casualties. But there are something else which is used, which is called decoy for an aircraft, decoy drones. Decoy drones for use for Sukhois and for Rafales. So when you get a picture on your radar, it looks like a Rafale, and you shoot that drone down. You may shoot down 3, 4, 5, and you can claim 5 Rafales down. But those drones decoys have been sent for saturating your air defense system and for diverting your attention from the main attack to the drone attack. And that is what probably is what they are claiming to have done that. But on the 9th, what happened is, by 7th, 8th, and on the 9th morning, 8th night and 9th morning, we have already started sending our aircrafts for shooting their air defense assets. And on the 9th night and 10th morning, the aircrafts have gone, I think 3 waves of Rafales and Sukhois have gone, which had destroyed 11 of their airfields. And the aircraft which were there in those airfields, because some hangars were also destroyed. So one Saab 2000, which is a REI evac, that was definitely destroyed. Some of the debris of that has been noticed. And some other aircrafts, probably the J-10 of Chinese and maybe F-16s have also been destroyed. But they were not in a dogfight, because dogfight in this event did not happen.
So even more embarrassing that they got destroyed while they were on the land itself.
On the land in the hangar. Because you destroyed the hangars. And they did not have time to move them out from there. And probably...
Because even their land strip was destroyed.
Correct. Their airstrip was destroyed, so they could not even take off to counter it. Not all of them, but some of them were cratered. Another thing is that they have always been thinking that, where to stop. And I think in a talk between the US Vice President and the US Defense Secretary with the Pakistan establishment, on the 8th day, 8th May, they were told that you must not escalate anymore because India is not escalating. They are not hitting your military targets. But what I presume that the Pakistan Army establishment said, that we have suffered so much that we cannot keep quiet till we attain a similar kind of destruction on Indian side. And then they sent their Fateh 1 and Fateh 2, which were all taken out by our S-400 or IACCS or Akash 3. Any of these systems could have been taken out. I am not going to identify which took out what. But the end result is none of the Fatehs. And Fateh, going to Fateh means they are escalating. From drone, you're going to ballistic missile. Next would be intercontinental ballistic missile, and last would be nuclear. So the escalation started from the Pakistan side. And we were only proportionately escalating and destroying that many targets as they had intended to 15 what they intended to destroy in Pakistan, Rajasthan and Gujarat. None of them could reach the target. But they had attempted to destroy 15. So we said we'll destroy 11 of your airfields.
So, so when it comes to defense procurement, there was a time, you are an ex-Navy man, so I won't take the name, but there was a time when we were negotiating with one of the supposed friendly country to procure a carrier which as per expert was rusted and which was decommissioned by the respective country. And we were negotiating for getting it as much cheaper as possible. So it was like they were dismantling it and we were planning to procure it to use it for our defense requirements.
Yeah.
So from those days, right now we have come to the times where India claims to be an upcoming, I won't say major as of now, but an upcoming defense export player in the world arena.
Yeah.
Probably after, whatever success we have seen in Operation Synindhur, our branding will be even stronger in world markets. But how did this change came? This came overnight or it was as a result of decades of government interference?
See, you are right. We were negotiating for taking a old aircraft carrier. I would not say decommissioned, I would say older aircraft carrier, which was to be refurbished for giving it extra life of 10 to 15 years. The need for that was that we had decommissioned Vikrant. And as you know, Navy has 2 operational fields. We have 3 commands, Western Command, Eastern Command, and the Southern Command. Southern Command is a training command, but the 2 operational commands are the West and the East. And to have a carrier battle group, that means a group of ships which are led by an aircraft carrier, you need at least 2 aircraft carriers. And to have 2 aircraft carriers continuously available round the year, you need to have minimum 3, ideally 4, because somewhere they would go for repairs, maintenance, and etc. So after Vikrant was decommissioned, because it has lived its life, and we extended it to 40-45 years, though it was supposed to be only 25-30 years life. And Vikrant, incidentally, was also HMS Hermes. It was an older British aircraft carrier which we had taken on, purchased it. So similarly, we negotiated for buying this because we needed 2. India has started their own indigenous aircraft carrier, which now has come out as New Vikrant, and Virat, the next aircraft carrier that we made. And now 3rd one is also on the drawing board. So finally, we'll get that. Why we need this is because of the 2 commands, and we need to take care of Bay of Bengal as well as Arabian Sea. And we have enemies on both sides. We have the Pakistani on the Western Arabian Sea. And in the Bay of Bengal, we have the Chinese nuclear submarines, Chinese PLA Navy ships patrolling every day. There's only one ocean in the world which is named after a country. And it is going to be ridiculous if you can't even control that. So it's very important to attain, sea control and sea denial and maritime supremacy for any navy to be worth its salt. We attained it in Operation Synindhur, and we are also planning to have that for the Indian Ocean region. And the future procurement that are happening or which are there in the pipeline clearly indicates India's intent. I mentioned about aircraft carrier, which are, along with the frigates and destroyers, they are instruments of sea control. That means if you have a carrier battle group or these big ships floating around, you are controlling the sea. You control what happens over there. Sea denial is achieved by submarines. So if you have a submarine which is there in a particular ocean, then the enemy would be scared to venture into that sea because he does not know where that submarine is. Conventional submarine, every 24 hours it has to come up. But if you have a nuclear submarine, the deterrent becomes even more viable because you don't know where it is and it can stay died for months, weeks together. So India is now getting into both these, sea control and sea denial part. And as far as the industry capability, I think that was the question that you were asking, whether we are confident. We have designed the aircraft carrier ourselves. We are building the aircraft carrier ourselves. It's not that 100% of equipment are indigenized, but
which is not economical.
Which is not economical because if the numbers don't, minimum order quantity is not there, there's no point in designing it over here.
It's about mix and match. Only.
It's a mix and match, but as long as you are able to achieve a reasonable amount of self-reliance, and in this case, I think it is more than 70% in the aircraft case. In the case of the submarines, the nuclear variety, I think the defense minister once made a statement, Mr. Manohar Parrikar, that we are close to 90% on a strategic program. So if that kind of a capability you have achieved, that 70 to 90% of the entire equipment, fit, metal, the steel can be indigenized, then I think we are into the
right
big
path.
League. We are in the right path and in the big league.
Yes,
we are not dependent on any of the technologies now. Op Synindhur has clearly indicated what we could do with regard to the aircrafts and with regard to the weapon systems, the control system, the sensors, the command control, the air defense. That has been clearly demonstrated. What did not come out is what we achieved on the naval front.
Yes.
Because there also, the fleet was deployed within 72 hours of 20 seconds. So that means on 25th or 26th, the ships with full weapon fit were already deployed off Karachi. We have 14 ports. Pakistan has 2, Karachi and Gwadar. Karachi is the main port. So if you block Karachi, then no goods can ever come to there, no oil, no energy can come. So you have to fight the war with whatever is there in your reserve tank. There's no fresh filling up happening. And Pakistan does not have much oil production. It all comes from the Gulf. So the moment you do that blockage, you are limiting his war fighting capability to a limited period. Why in 4 days he came to his knees? One is you destroyed his air bases. Second, Pakistan Navy was virtually confined to their harbor. They could not even come out. And there are lots of material available in the public domain. What is the material state of their ships? Majority of them are given, the frontline ships have been given by the Pakistani Navy. And they have the Type 21, which is a British design. That frigate is now, the radar sensors, they are having technical problems, which they are not able to solve it themselves because their shipyard does not have neither the source code nor the software, and they're not having funds to call the engineers from outside. Chinese ships that they have taken, they are having problems on the turbine, on the cooling system, you name it, they are having problems. As a result, and the third thing which is very important, Ankit, is in the Navy, the ships are important, but the men are even more important. Like in any war, it's not the gun that you're using, it's the man behind the gun. And even here, the pilots in the aircraft. Their Navy ships not being operational, majority of them, is leading to all the young officers who are joining the Pakistan Navy not having enough sea time. So that means in case of war, they would be like novices going into a war, wet behind the ears, not able to fight. That is the state of Pakistan Navy today. So if you compare, within a week of Op Sindhur, Indian Mazgon Dock in Bombay commissioned 3 ships. All Indian developed, manufactured and built with almost 70 to 90% indigenous content.
So what changed in between? So from the times when we were planning to procure, completely obsolete or old ships to building our own ships. So what changed in between?
What has changed is, I think the main, if I can point one way why it has changed is the government not only talking about but walking the talk of indigenization and Make in India.
Leading the initiative.
So what was happening was, before 2014, the focus was on buying ships. We had a submarine design bureau. We had a ship design bureau. The Navy was the only service which has its own design bureaus. Achha. I was a member of the submarine design bureau. I mentioned I was the chief designer for the nuclear submarine program. Likewise, we have a ship design bureau. So I think now there is only one ship that we are still buying from outside. Everything else is being made, designed, manufactured over here, which was not the case earlier. And why this happened is, when Mr. Parikar was a defense minister, and we were talking not about the ship, we were talking about missiles. And we were saying, why are you buying missile A, Barak, from Israel when you have Akash over here and next generation Akash would be better? He said, if we can make a particular weapon, platform, ship, gun, tank in India, I will ban its import. He used the word ban. And that led to, you'll be surprised, there is something called a negative list. The first one was called the negative list. But the second list onward, it is called the PIL, Positive Indigenization List. And that also a word that Modi ji came in one of our defense minister industry meet. And he said, why are you calling it negative list? Don't say negative list for imports. Call it positive list for indigenization.
So you should not have negative connotations.
You should look at the glass half full. Because if you see the glass half full, you get the water. If you see the glass half empty, is the void that you get. So this is what I think primarily led to the Indian design picking it up. It was always there in the Navy, but Air Force, they started for MK, and now the Tejas Mark 1, Tejas Mark 1A, Tejas Mark 2, and now MK. MK is going to be the 4.5 or 5th generation aircraft, which would be probably as good as F-35. Tejas is equally good as what we are buying, Rafales and the mix. On the land system side, there's been a major change, and I mentioned about the K9 Vajra. The 2 new programs that are coming up is the FRCV and the light tank that they are trying to design. So once you have those programs going, these programs are not just a platform that you're getting. The entire ecosystem, the supply chain get built up. And today, you have 17 or 18 PSUs. You have 430 licensed system integrators who have got a defense license for manufacturing. And you have 16,000 MSMEs who are dedicated to defense and aerospace. This did not exist in the past. So the entire ecosystem has come up because from the top you took a decision that I will ban import. Because as long as you have that window of import open, no?
Yes.
There's a tendency to go, why not go and buy outside?
So as they say, change comes from the top to down.
Yes.
And also, as they cite that when Suzuki or the erstwhile Maruti came to India, it also resulted in the mushrooming of auto component.
Ancillary component.
So my last question to you, Commodore Bhargava, you have been a defense industry veteran as well. If you can just cite 2 or 3, anecdotes where Indian defense industry has given superb results as compared to global peers or even in Indian context.
Okay, one of the projects which I have been personally involved is the strategic submarine project. That's the nuclear submarines. There are only 5 countries in the world that have been successful in manufacturing a nuclear submarine, because I think after the satellite, after the spacecraft, this is the most complex piece of equipment. I feel it is more complex than the spacecraft also, because the volume is very limited. You can't go outside the pressure hull, there is water. So everything has to be accommodated within that. For those programs, we started by doing it, maybe the time that we were taking for the first boat was nearly 1.5 to 2 times the time that Russians took, who have been doing it for decades. But by the time we came to the third, we were matching that time. So we could able to achieve the cycle time reduction of the order of 50 to 70% from the first to the third. So this shows couple of things. One is how you're able to engineer production, improve your processes, as well as building up supply chain, because if an item does not come in time, your production gets held up. So both the ecosystem got developed, and you could also, and now I think in addition to the ballistic nuclear submarines, we are also going in for the SSNs, which are the attack submarines, which is what is required. When I was talking about the Chinese nuclear submarine operating over here, and when some question was asked to a Chinese diplomat, he said this is to control the oil that is coming from Gulf to China. So he's talking about submarine being used for sea control. I told you it's an instrument of sea denial. So having a nuclear submarine, you're not controlling the traffic, you're denying it to Indian Navy. And that's why we need SSNs, which is the attack submarine, to kill them. So this is one project which is there. Second is a project that Larsen and Toubro very successfully completed, was the delivery of the K9 Vajra self-propelled 155 mm 52 caliber air defense guns. After Bofors, which was 1980, late 80s, this was the first gun, air defense gun, that was purchased by the army. We started with about 30-35%, but towards the end we could even achieve 75% indigenization, and a repeat order would probably take that indigenization even further. So today you have a gun which is totally, I would not say totally designed inside, but manufactured here within the cycle time that the government has specified. The third is, I think, I mentioned about the Tejas 1, Tejas 1A, and the MK. These are all the platforms that are indigenously designed by the ADA, Aeronautical Design Authority, and being manufactured at HAL. We still have a challenge on the aero engine, which we are getting it from the GE F414. But parallelly, there is a project which is being done at the DRDO for making that engine indigenously over here. And I think the DRDO lab is tying up with an industry to attain the thrust of 110, 120 kilonewton, which is required, which Kaveri, this engine, was not able to develop, which was being designed by DRDO. So now what is happening is,
I think Kaveri is the one which is used in Tejas also.
It is used in Tejas, but it is used in Tejas 1. Okay. But Tejas 1A and Tejas 2 require much more than 90 kilonewtons, which is being developed by Kaveri. So now the DRDO and industry is working in a PPP model, public-private partnership model, so that the strength of the industry can augment the capability of research and development, and we get the best result for the country.
And as you were telling before the interview, that Vajra is being, exported to Saudi also.
No, not exported. It's a prime candidate for export, and we are looking for opportunities for export of this gun to countries who have similar kind of requirement like ours. Yes. We haven't got an order, but there's a potential for its export. Talking on export, I think it's important to note in 2014 we had a total defense export of 787 crores.
INR.
Today it is crossed 23,000 crore. By 2025, we are expected to touch 35,000 crore. And the Rajnath Singh ji
So
has
you are
just
saying it's more than 30 times now in 10
34
years.
times. 34 times.
34 times.
And by 2030, the Defence Minister Rajnath Singh ji has said we must reach 50,000 crore. So from 787 to 50,000 in 16 years.
70 times.
Why is it possible? It's not that the PSUs who were the main arm of defense manufacture till 2001. The sector got opened up for private sector only in 2001. First tender came in 2005, 2006. So it is just 20 years. And in 20 years, if you can achieve that kind of an export is majorly happening by the private sector. So the moment you involve private sector in a strategic field like defense, nuclear and aerospace, you will see wonderful results. The nuclear and aerospace have already been using the industry not as a vendor but as a partner. And you see the progress which these two sectors have done. If the defense, same thing starts happening, defense will also become the apple of the eye and neighbors envy.
Make in India.
Make in India, like the nuclear and the space sector is today.
So Commodore Mukesh Bhargava, what prompted you to become our client? And since the time you have become our client, how has been your experience with us?
Okay, well, Nivesh, my first interaction with Wealthy Nivesh was, Ankit, when you and Aditya had come to one of our IIT Roorkee alumni's meet, and when I saw that a young alumnus from IIT Roorkee is taking up a startup, and another alumni from IIT Delhi, who's the CEO, is taking this initiative. And financial management is something which most of the engineers are not good at. But I saw these two young boys who are doing so well and have taken this initiative. I had personal portfolio management being done by L&T Finance, some people, and earlier it was also HDFC. And both the places I found, HDFC, of course, I lost my principal rather than getting any growth. L&T Finance, it did give a growth, but it was a single-digit growth, and I was not very happy. My son, who always talks about 24% ROE, return on YOY on the investment. So I was not that, I would say, greedy, but I would like to see how technology can be used for giving a better prediction of your financial growth. And the algo-based process that Wealthy Nivesh is using, it struck a kind of a chord with me because I have designed the algorithms for some of the submarine control systems, and I was very impressed that if it can be used for managing and predicting the financial wealth, it would be a good idea. Of course, the Alumni Connect was there, and the briefing that was given to me by you, and I remember we met in Aroma cafeteria first time.
In Powai.
And you said, sir, give me 5,000, so bhi chalega. So that was the start, and where you have reached now. I think you must be touching four-digit crores by now in your turnover, and I wish you all the success. I am very happy with how my funds are being managed, and as long as you maintain that, hockey stick growth to my portfolio, I am all with Wealthy Nivesh. Even my son has joined you as a client, and I am very happy. So far, so good, and wish you success. May you cross the 4-digit soon and touch the 5-digit in INR.
Great. So Commodore Bhargav, thanks for all the knowledge. Thanks for all the insights and anecdotes that you gave us. I am sure our audience will benefit a lot from it. And thanks again for coming.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. So if you have any topic in mind which you would like us to discuss, you can mention it in the comment. And thank you for joining us.